James Charles, figure emblématique de la beauté sur YouTube aux millions d'abonnés, est au cœur d'une controverse encore une fois. Il passionne autant qu'il divise et vous allez voir que son comportement a souvent été jugé toxique, mais également de très prédateur. On va revenir sur les quelques polémiques passées qu'il a eues, mais également pourquoi actuellement il est de nouveau dans la sauce. On va parler de ses anciens amis, d'amis actuels, d'amis qui lui ont d'ailleurs tourné le dos, mais également certains amis qui ont fini en prison et qui ont été jugés par la justice. On va un petit peu voir ensemble la face cachée de James Charles et pourquoi est-il encore libre et surtout pourquoi peut-il encore sévir de la sorte. Si vous êtes intéressé, continuez à regarder. Salut tout le monde, c'est Chris. Avant de commencer la vidéo, n'hésitez surtout pas à vous abonner et activer la cloche de notification pour être toujours au rendez-vous. Actualité, polémique, scandale, people, télé-réalité, story time, ici on parle de tout. Et n'hésitez pas à faire un tour en barre d'infos si vous souhaitez davantage soutenir la chaîne. Merci beaucoup. Bon, je ne sais même pas par où commencer, tellement cette histoire, elle est vraiment folle. Je vais essayer d'avoir un ordre chronologique. On va revenir déjà sur les premières controverses qu'il y a pu y avoir dans la vie de James Charles et pourquoi, encore une fois à l'heure actuelle, toutes ces controverses, toutes ces polémiques, ces scandales sont une nouvelle fois en train de chambouler la vie de ces influenceurs. On va parler de James Charles, mais également d'Evan Johnson, Kayla Malec, ainsi que de Zach Sellers. Oui, il y a beaucoup de protagonistes dans cette histoire. Et par ailleurs, je tenais à faire un petit disclaimer dans cette vidéo car on va parler de choses qui peuvent heurter la sensibilité de beaucoup de personnes. On va parler de choses qui sont assez graves. Il va y avoir certaines images également qui peuvent un petit peu trigger certaines personnes. On va parler de V conjugal. Je ne veux pas dire le mot, on connaît la politique extrêmement stricte sur YouTube, mais je tenais à faire ce petit disclaimer avant de commencer cette vidéo. Alors j'ai pris énormément de notes et je m'en excuse par avance si je regarde beaucoup ma tablette pour vraiment avoir une ligne chronologique, mais on va parler de son premier vrai scandale, de son scandale qui a vraiment fait un petit peu connaître un peu plus James Charles. Alors certes, c'est un créateur de contenu qui a côtoyé les plus grands, Jeffree Star, Tati Westbrook ou encore, enfin tellement de personnes. Il a des contacts tels que Kris Jenner, toute la famille Kardashian ou Bébé Rexha. Enfin, il a vraiment accès à beaucoup de contacts. C'est quelqu'un qui a une influence énorme dans le monde de la beauté aux États-Unis comme à l'international. Il a par ailleurs sa propre marque de make-up. Il a collaboré avec Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, avec tellement de personnes que j'en oublie carrément les noms, vraiment. Il est vraiment présent. C'est peut-être l'un, si ce n'est le premier créateur de contenu beauté homme qui a autant suscité d'intérêt et qui a autant fait parler de lui. Alors je tenais dans un premier temps à vous rappeler la toute première grosse polémique qu'a eu James Charles. Ça remonte à mai 2019 et ça m'a un petit peu fait rire quand j'ai fait les recherches et que je me suis rendu compte que ça remontait à mai 2019 et que son nouveau drama actuellement, on est en mai 2025. Je ne sais pas comment vous dire, mais ça m'a fait un petit peu sourire. Donc dans ce drama qui s'appelle le drama By Sister, on a trois protagonistes majeurs. James Charles d'un côté, ainsi que Tati Westbrook, qui a été la mentor et l'amie extrêmement fidèle, la meilleure amie de James Charles, qui l'a vraiment propulsé sur le devant de la scène. Puis on a Jeffree Star. Alors, un beau jour, on a tout simplement James Charles qui va faire la promotion de compléments capillaires de vitamines pour les cheveux qui s'appelle Sugar Bear Hair. Cependant, ces compléments capillaires qui sont censés vous aider à avoir de meilleurs cheveux, en meilleure santé, les faire pousser, etc., ça ne va pas du tout plaire à Tati Westbrook, donc je vous rappelle sa meilleure amie à James Charles, parce que, elle aussi, elle vend des compléments capillaires pour les cheveux qui s'appellent Halo Beauty, enfin c'est sa propre marque. Elle va nous sortir une vidéo qui s'appelle By Sister le 10 mai 2019 et elle va vraiment prendre en fait tout cela pour une trahison personnelle. Elle va revenir sur du coup cette histoire de vitamines, mais elle va également exposer le comportement de James Charles. Ça serait un prédateur qui adorerait, grâce à son argent, grâce à son influence, s'acheter les services de personnes, d'hommes hétéro, d'homme cisgenre hétéro, qui l'attire énormément. L'homme un petit peu, vous savez, bodybuildé, homme extrêmement masculin, viril, hétéro, c'est ce qui plaît à James Charles. Donc, il aurait dragué à plusieurs reprises des serveurs, il aurait fait des blagues salaces devant la famille de Tati Westbrook à des dîners, mais même devant des amis, etc. Beaucoup de personnes vont trouver son comportement ignoble, son comportement extrêmement toxique, parce que le mec va vraiment dire que, pour lui, on est incapable, on ne doit pas lui dire non parce qu'il a du pouvoir, il a de l'argent, il a une notoriété et que s'il veut, il peut s'acheter les services de qui il veut, un peu comme si tout le monde était à sa botte, si vous voulez. Et dites-vous que cette vidéo qui dure une trentaine de minutes, un peu plus, elle va faire 30 millions de vues en l'espace de quelques jours. La vidéo n'est malheureusement plus disponible sur la chaîne de Tati parce que ça va faire vraiment l'effet d'une bombe. Elle va sortir une autre vidéo par la suite parce que ça va prendre en ampleur. Sachez que James Charles, avec ce drama, il a perdu plus de 3 millions d'abonnés en l'espace d'une semaine. C'est un record vraiment à l'époque. Alors, il a récupéré énormément d'abonnés aussi, mais 3 millions d'abonnés en moins à l'époque, c'est tout bonnement ahurissant, vraiment. On a même Jeffree Star qui va aller l'attaquer sur les réseaux sociaux, notamment sur Twitter à l'époque, où il va un petit peu partager des SMS, partager des screenshots, et pareil, ça va aussi entacher son image à lui parce que les gens vont lui dire pourquoi tu t'immisces dans cette histoire alors que tu n'as rien à y faire. Tout le monde va vraiment en pâtir, mais plus Jeffree Star et Tati, et James Charles va revenir un peu plus vainqueur parce qu'il va nous sortir une vidéo qui s'appelle No More Lies. Donc dans cette vidéo qui est sortie le 18 mai 2019, il va un petit peu démontrer que certaines affirmations que Tati a amenées dans sa vidéo By Sisters sont totalement exagérées ou bien fausses. Il va nous sortir des captures d'écran, des notes audio, des vidéos, etc. Il va vraiment essayer de tout nous sortir et il va un petit peu manipuler l'opinion publique et retenez bien ça, c'est très important pour la suite de la vidéo. Il va réussir à travers ces screenshots regagner en notoriété, regagner des abonnés, les 3 millions qu'il a perdus, il va très rapidement les regagner. Cependant, Tati Westbrook, elle va tellement en pâtir qu'elle va en fait donner plus aucun signe de vie pendant des mois. Sa chaîne va être à l'abandon total. Aujourd'hui, elle refait des vidéos, mais ça ne marche plus aussi bien. Et Jeffree Star, quant à lui, il fait que des vidéos sur TikTok, alors que c'était l'un des youtubeurs beauté numéro 1 aux États-Unis, si ce n'était le plus influent carrément. Donc toutes ces personnes ont entaché leur image, ont entaché leur carrière parce qu'ils voulaient un petit peu call out, cancel James Charles de son comportement extrêmement dégoûtant. Dégueulasse. Maintenant que vous avez ce contexte, on va parler un peu plus de Kayla Malec et de Evan Johnson. Qui est dans un premier temps Kayla Malec, que je vais appeler Kayla dans la vidéo. Kayla, qui est une jeune influenceuse de 20 ans, sortait depuis 9 mois avec un certain Evan Johnson. Le couple est un petit peu goal aux États-Unis, une très belle jeune fille, un très beau jeune homme, grand, musclé, et elle, la petite blonde, toute mignonne, le petit visage vraiment angélique. Ils formaient vraiment le couple goal. Ils ont fait beaucoup de vidéos ensemble. Ils ont un jour rencontré James Charles et devaient collaborer ensemble sur une collection à venir pour la Saint-Valentin parce que James Charles a sa propre marque de make-up qui s'appelle Painted et ils devaient ensuite collaborer pour la Saint-Valentin, faire un truc en couple, etc. Donc jusque là on se dit ok, tout se passe bien, il n'y a pas trop de problèmes, mais du coup qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Derrière tous ces sourires, tous ces moments de bonheur, en fait, se cache quelque chose d'empoisonné. On va avoir Kayla qui va, en début d'avril 2025, nous annoncer avoir été victime de V conjugal et avoir été victime de choses extrêmement affreuse, atroce. Elle va par ailleurs nous sortir plusieurs vidéos YouTube, 2 vidéos notamment, qui s'appellent He Doesn't Love You, qui veut dire en français « Il ne t'aime pas ». Des vidéos qui vont faire des millions de vues. À l'heure actuelle, on parle de plus de 7 millions de vues, qui sont divisées en 2 parties et qui durent plus de 4 heures si on combine les deux. Dans ces vidéos, elle va nous dire qu'elle a subi bon nombre de sévices. Elle va nous partager par ailleurs des images qui ont choqué beaucoup de personnes sur la toile, parce qu'on la voit vraiment en larmes. On apprend que il lui aurait cassé sa mâchoire, il lui aurait vraiment asséné des coups, vraiment horrible, vraiment je n'ose même pas imaginer. Et elle va nous dire que pendant ces 9 mois, elle a vécu un enfer avec Evan Johnson, parce que c'est quelqu'un qui, derrière sa belle image, sa belle gueule, c'est quelqu'un qui est totalement toxique, mauvais. Et ça fait vraiment froid dans le dos. Ces vidéos sur YouTube vont vraiment émouvoir beaucoup de personnes, mais également susciter de l'intérêt, si bien qu'elle va en reparler dans des podcasts, notamment sur la chaîne qu'elle a en commun avec un ami à elle qui s'appelle Jacob, et la chaîne s'appelle Banging Out, où elle va revenir sur des éléments du coup de tout ce qui s'est passé avec Evan et elle-même, et elle va notamment nous révéler, et tenez-vous bien, qu'elle a appris, alors qu'elle était pendant la semaine de Coachella, que l'un de ses amis proches aurait en fait tout simplement hébergé Evan, donc son ex, avec qui elle n'était plus au moment des faits, et cette personne aurait en fait détourné l'intention d'Evan pour se l'approprier, pour faire en sorte qu'Evan soit amoureux de lui, pour faire en sorte que voilà, il se passe quelque chose entre lui et Evan. C'est ce qu'elle va nous dire dans ce fameux podcast. Écoutez bien.
I can't get into too much right now, but I found out at Coachella, literally last weekend, that a close friend of mine had basically really fucked me over in ways I could have never expected, and I got sent proof and receipts, and that person admitted it to me that they had done it. And I don't want to the thing is I don't want to talk about it because right now, for at least because I'm still healing, court's coming.
You're dealing with a lot. Right now.
Like literally,
to everybody at home, like, I hope you guys realize that behind the scenes, like, she's dealing with real stuff. Like, she's sharing with you guys, you know, pieces of the story, but she actually has to live this. So, like, outside of the videos and stuff, she actually has to.
And then also for somebody I considered a close friend to really fucked me over and done things I could never do to a person.
Do you think you'll say this person's name at some point or no?
Et rapidement, les soupçons vont se poser sur nul autre que James Charles. Les gens sur les réseaux sociaux vont mener leur petite enquête et ils vont se rendre compte qu'en réalité, la personne qui serait responsable de ça, tout ce micmac, ce fameux ami qui aurait volé l'ami, le petit copain de Kayla, ça serait nul autre que James Charles. Les gens vont y aller de leurs petits commentaires, ça va prendre des proportions totalement folles et vers fin avril, beaucoup de gens vont commencer à prendre la parole, mais il y a notamment une chaîne en particulier qui s'appelle BeeBetter qui va inviter un certain Zach Sellers. Donc Zach, c'est le meilleur ami, l'ancien meilleur ami d'Evan Johnson. Donc il a côtoyé Evan Johnson pendant un long moment et il connaissait Kayla également. Il l'a côtoyé, il va venir en fait témoigner dans une interview sur la chaîne BeeBetter et il va venir nous dire tout ce qu'il a vu, tout ce qu'il a entendu. Il va notamment nous parler du comportement de James Charles. Il va se rendre compte qu'en fait James Charles parlait très souvent en FaceTime avec Evan qui représente un peu tout ce qu'il voulait. Je vous rappelle que Evan n'a que 20-21 ans, James Charles a plus de 25 ans, il approche très prochainement de la trentaine. Et les gens étaient là en mode, c'est un peu bizarre comme comportement, certes ce n'est pas illégal, mais ce comportement est très étrange quand même. Pourquoi tu dragouilles un petit mec qui a 20 ans? Les gens n'ont pas forcément apprécié ça, et c'est surtout que Zach va nous révéler que par la suite, il parlait énormément, très souvent, et James Charles envoyait des photos éphémères sur Instagram parce que la première fois, quand il s'est fait toper, lorsqu'il a dragué des mineurs, James Charles, c'était sur Snapchat. Il n'utilise plus du tout Snapchat apparemment à l'heure actuelle et échange via Instagram. Et donc du coup, il peut supprimer très facilement les messages, faire en sorte que rien n'est vu, etc. Donc il va envoyer des photos pas compromettantes, mais des photos un petit peu olé olé de lui dans son lit avec, comment dire, vous comprenez, son derrière en l'air pour aguicher Evan en disant regarde ce qui t'attend dans le lit, regarde ce petit cadeau, etc. Et tout ça, Zach va le voir de ses propres yeux. C'est ce qu'il nous dit dans ce fameux podcast. Rappelez-vous, un peu plus tôt, je vous ai dit que James Charles, c'est quelqu'un d'extrêmement influent, qui a du pouvoir, qui a de l'argent, qui a des contacts. Il va, d'après les dires de la personne qui détient la chaîne BeeBetter, je vais l'appeler BeeBetter dans cette vidéo pour que vous compreniez de qui on parle, mais donc du coup, d'après BeeBetter, en fait, James Charles serait en contact avec YouTube pour faire en sorte que sa vidéo ne soit pas vue, que sa vidéo soit shadowban et qu'il y ait de moins en moins de personnes qui puissent la voir, parce qu'il y aurait de très lourdes accusations, de très lourdes révélations dans cette vidéo et ça ne va pas du tout lui plaire, ça va relancer et c'est vraiment à partir de ce moment-là que ça va lancer tout le drama James Charles, Evan et Kayla, Malec. Vous allez voir.
So I just wanted to let you guys know that James Charles is officially trying to get my video banned from YouTube. I have now received several messages from people saying that they either cannot access the video or when they search it, it doesn't pop up. I will include screenshots here. I cannot say I'm surprised. YouTube at the end of the day is a corporation and the products that they sell is the content and their true customers are the advertisers. And James Charles makes them millions of dollars every year. He's probably the #1 creator in the beauty space. If you think that he doesn't have the ability to call in a favor at YouTube to just say, hey guys, can you turn the volume down on this one post? Because it's mutually beneficial for both YouTube and James for him to continue to be able to make the money and for them to in turn protect his reputation. Can't say I'm surprised. Super disappointing to know that YouTube, I guess, supports domestic violence, supports silencing victims, supports protecting predators. Very upsetting. You can be expecting to receive a letter from my lawyer in the morning. And beyond that, as a result of this, I'm going to be posting the entire interview on TikTok. It is 55 minutes, but I think it's worth the watch. For those of you saying, where's the proof? Watch the video. There is an inordinate amount of proof. And I have to be honest, it's pretty disappointing to see the radio silence. I mean, on behalf of James, I'm not surprised because he's in a little bit of a pickle here. In order for him to acknowledge the situation, he would have to admit what he did, and that would make him look very bad. To give a little bit of other insight, I had a conversation with James Charles about a year ago, and I asked him if there was anything he learned from his controversies, we'll say. And he said the number one thing that he learned and the number one mistake that he made, in his own words, was ever addressing anything to his audience. And it's just kind of funny looking back on that conversation, knowing that it wasn't the texting of the underage kids that he felt was something he regretted. It was the acknowledgement of posting videos, discussing it, and apologizing, because that's really when the stories blew up. So unfortunately, it looks like he hasn't learned in terms of modifying his behavior, doing some self-reflection, and becoming a better person. Instead, the only thing that he's learned is how to better cover up his behavior, which looks like he's going the route of staying silent, hoping it will blow over. And clearly it's working relatively well, because there have been very few notable people other than Michaela Testa and Bryce Hall. Thank you guys for speaking about the situation. And I just hope that you guys will watch the interview and make your own judgment with the information. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Zach, par la suite, rappelez-vous, le meilleur ami de Evan Johnson, va se lancer un petit peu aussi sur les réseaux sociaux. Enfin, il était déjà dessus, c'est un mannequin apparemment, il est dans des agences de modeling, etc. Mais il va essayer de se lancer sur les réseaux sociaux, de faire en sorte que ce drama lui soit aussi bénéfique. On est bien d'accord que le mec va essayer de faire en sorte qu'on parle que de lui. Il va détourner ce drama qui est tout bonnement affreux. On parle d'une jeune fille qui a subi des V conjugales, elle a subi des choses extrêmement horribles, atroces, et on va même avoir des révélations comme quoi James Charles aurait dit à Kayla, oui, donc tu n'es plus avec ton mec, parce qu'elle lui avait annoncé par message, elle lui avait dit, on va pas pouvoir faire la collaboration de la Saint-Valentin ensemble parce que je me suis séparé d'Evan. Ce à quoi a répondu James Charles, ah, donc ça veut dire que je peux l'avoir maintenant, en parlant du mec de Kayla. En mode tu n'es plus avec, donc je peux te le prendre, en gros il est libre. C'était de l'humour de très mauvais goût, mais vous allez voir, vous allez comprendre un peu plus tard. Et donc les gens étaient en mode mais c'est ignoble, comment tu peux dire ça à quelqu'un qui vient en fait de casser avec son mec et qui te dit par message c'est une personne horrible et elle m'a fait vivre ce qu'aucun être humain m'a fait vivre auparavant, elle m'a fait vivre vraiment ce que l'être humain peut te faire vivre de plus horrible. Et le mec il rigole en disant des trucs en mode ah je peux te prendre ton mec. Je trouve que c'est un petit peu, c'est très moyen, vous voyez, c'est très moyen. Après, il y a de l'humour, voilà, qui est, dans certaines situations, tu as de l'humour qui est très malvenu parce que tu sais pas comment réagir, ok, mais là, c'était vraiment dégueulasse. Mais donc ce fameux Zach, en fait, va faire très souvent des lives sur TikTok et il me semble très important par ailleurs d'en parler ici parce que on va avoir plusieurs sons de cloche. On a Zach qui va faire des lives sur TikTok, Instagram, etc. mais plus souvent sur TikTok où il va réclamer en fait de l'argent. Il va commander des cadeaux, des univers, des galaxies, des machins, des trucs pour lancer sa première marque et lancer sa marque de vêtements et faire en sorte que on le connaisse lui. Donc il va utiliser tout ce drama qui concerne son ami, son ex-meilleur ami à lui et plein d'autres personnes pour faire en sorte que la lumière soit projetée sur lui. Je trouve le comportement très moyen, voire inadmissible, parce qu'il va être là en mode oui, offrez-moi des galaxies, donnez-moi machin, de l'argent, je vous envoie mon PayPal, n'hésitez pas à me donner vos adresses, vos machins, vos trucs, on essaiera de faire des meet and greet ensemble avec Kayla lorsque tout ça sera tassé. Le mec a utilisé littéralement le nom, le prénom, le traumatisme qu'a eu cette jeune fille pour faire en sorte que l'on parle de lui. Et il a eu par la suite à prendre plusieurs fois la parole vis-à-vis de cette histoire. Il en a fait énormément de parties, mais une en particulier où il dit qu'il va saisir la justice et surtout que le comportement de James Charles, c'est un comportement dit de prédateur. Regardez bien.
James Charles Dickinson. Yes, I'm back on here, and I'm not going to give up on speaking on the absolute truth. Just want to let you know, I did get to speak to my legal team today. My legal team advised me what your legal team did was actually completely illegal, and she called it something as, what is this? What are they wanting to do? Do something under the table? Because if you're trying to go the legitimate way, they should have made a document, put it in writing, and sent it to my legal firm. On top of that, your legal team sent this email to both of my agent's emails, her personal and her business. How did you guys get her personal? So you guys were out to do something, but I can promise you, I am in completely safe and clear conditions. I also want to throw out there that I will be showing the email to you guys at the end of this because it's absolutely ridiculous of what he's trying to do and trying to hush me up. Bro, look into your legal team because they're not doing it the legitimate way. They either can file the papers and give them to me and we can get your whole phone data and you can see it in court because you know you're guilty, or just leave it alone and face the consequences. But I am not going to give up. Right is right and you're in the wrong. But anyways, I love all of you guys and thank you guys for supporting. I just wanted to jump on here and, let him know that what he has done is wrong and not the right way, as my legal team has let me know. If the legal team is watching this, please by no means send a letter. Have all of your facts in a letter. We're not taking a phone call because on a phone call, it's harder to use that as evidence in court. So go ahead and write your letter, send it to my legal team, and we can go that way. But again, I love you guys.
Très récemment, le 7 mai 2025, plus précisément, on a James Charles qui va s'asseoir et faire une vidéo sur TikTok. Une vidéo où il va nous dire qu'il ne soutient en aucun cas Evan Johnson, qu'en aucun cas il accepte son comportement et qu'il adhère à son comportement et qu'il apporte tout son soutien à Kayla. Et vous allez voir que déjà à l'époque, BeeBetter avait dit quelque chose quelques jours avant, même pas un jour avant. Il avait dit « Je peux vous parier que je vais savoir mot pour mot ce que James Charles va dire dans sa vidéo. Je sais comment il va agir, je sais ce qu'il va dire, je sais comment vont être tournées ses excuses, comment il va faire pour manipuler votre opinion. » Et franchement, il a vu extrêmement juste. Il a posté sa vidéo quelques heures avant que James Charles poste la sienne. Regardez et écoutez bien, ça va faire écho à la vidéo de James Charles juste après. Écoutez.
Okay, so the sentence I'm about to say is going to sound like a lie, but I assure you it is 100% the truth. So James Charles has officially hired a former federal prosecutor in an attempt to bully and intimidate, the person that I interviewed, Zach, into silence. He has also indicated that he's going to be publicly responding to the allegations very soon, so I thought I could come on here and predict for you guys exactly what James is going to say, because if I can predict it, then I can reveal it for what it really is, which is a well-orchestrated attempt to regain public favorability by shifting the narrative in his favor, as opposed to actually a genuine recounting of what actually happened. So the thing about James Charles is that he's had a lot of experience navigating public scandal. He's had experience responding in a way where he articulates his side of the story with screenshots and receipts in a video called No More Lies. And he also has an experience responding in a more vulnerable way where he took accountability and apologized for his actions. I believe that video was called Holding Myself Accountable. So he's learned how to navigate this properly. He's also learned which one went over well, which we all know No More Lies actually was fairly successful in shifting the narrative in his favor. This is why I do not expect him whatsoever to come out with a full-throated apology video, which he understands because the internet lacks the ability to perceive nuance. It will simply be viewed as a full admission of guilt. So what he's really going to do is he's going to strategically select receipts and screenshots and text messages to paint a timeline for you to influence public perception and introduce doubt as to if the allegations were really true or not. And the timeline is obviously going to focus on the angle of him being an empathetic friend and simply being taken advantage of and manipulated by Evan as well. So first, I believe that James will completely deny having any prior knowledge of the abuse, and he will also flat out deny that the relationship with Evan Johnson was ever sexual. It doesn't need to be fully convincing, it just needs to be enough to introduce doubt in the mind of the audience and continue his image of innocence, which will be portrayed throughout the entire video. Next, I think that James will actually emphasize that Evan was suicidal and that James was simply just trying to help as a friend. I think that he will draw parallels to his own experience being canceled, where his mind went to a very dark place, and that he was simply trying to assist a friend through a life experience that he had also shared. This is obviously an attempt to shift the narrative away from his actions and toward his good intentions, which he's hoping will evoke sympathy and prevent him from having to take accountability. I also think that he will bring up receipts of him messaging Kayla at Coachella, expressing how awful he felt after he had watched her video, checking in to make sure that she's okay. And I believe this is ultimately why he's been blowing up Kayla's phone, purely with the intention of screenshotting it and including it in his manipulative timeline for his response video. I also believe that he's going to portray his extended silence as a selfless act that he did to simply protect Kayla and avoid giving Evan Johnson's legal team any ammunition to use against her. He's going to frame himself as a martyr who experienced all of this public scrutiny and kept his mouth shut purely because he cares about Kayla so much and didn't want to negatively impact her chances at getting justice. But we all know the real reason he's been silent is because he's been buying himself time, trying to bully and intimidate, and in some cases even pay people off behind the scenes to see if he can get rid of this in a way where he doesn't have to publicly respond, which is ultimately going to require for him to take some accountability and admit something, because we know for a fact Evan Johnson was at his house. Whether or not he's able to convince people that nothing happened and they simply baked cookies and went to church together, I'm not sure how gullible people are, but he is doing everything he can to avoid giving people too many details, because either way, he looks like a very, very bad friend in this scenario. And finally, I believe at the end, he's either going to threaten or announce some type of legal action to create the illusion of innocence, because by announcing a lawsuit, he's going to manipulate the audience into thinking he is so confident in his innocence and everything people are saying is untrue. But in reality, the legal action is much more about psychological manipulation and intimidating others from speaking out, as opposed to him actually seeking justice. So when you eventually do watch his response video, please view it with a critical eye and understand that you are viewing a meticulously crafted effort to alter public perception that was likely designed by a team of lawyers and public relations professionals who literally do reputation management for a living.
Donc comme j'ai dit, le 7 mai 2025, James Charles poste sa vidéo d'excuses et d'explication, son droit de réponse. En soi, il a totalement le droit de le faire, il est en droit, voilà, oui, de le faire, de donner sa version des choses et d'expliquer. Il va apporter des screenshots et encore une fois, on peut se poser certaines questions. Premièrement, pourquoi tu apportes des screenshots concernant que Zach Seller et pas Evan? Pourquoi que des screenshots concernant Kayla avec toi-même et pas Evan? Les gens veulent savoir si oui ou non tu as couché avec lui, si oui ou non tu étais déjà au courant, et tu étais au courant, enfin il était au courant, je dis tu comme s'il allait voir cette vidéo, mais il était au courant des agissements, du comportement d'Evan envers Kayla lorsqu'il l'a invité à venir chez lui, lorsqu'il lui a payé son avion, lorsqu'il a fait ci, lorsqu'il a fait ça. Je trouve que c'est quand même très moyen. Encore une fois, il a essayé de se dédouaner et il a un petit peu essayé de gaslighter tout le monde, de manipuler tout le monde pour faire en sorte que l'opinion publique se voit vers lui et que tout le monde en fait tourne leur fusil d'épaule et maintenant soit braqué sur Zach et sur Evan. Il a très bien joué. Écoutez la vidéo et essayez de vous rappeler ce que BeeBetter a dit juste avant, notamment en disant comment il allait manipuler l'opinion publique, et il l'a très bien fait et il a vu extrêmement juste. Il a prédit mot pour mot les actions de James Charles. Regardez.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape or form. Let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him, I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malec behind closed doors. I really fucking hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malec and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through to how James Charles involved, the downfall, Bye Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting from the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that. I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malec. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't fucking blame her. After I watched the laughable interview between BeeBetter and Zach Sellers, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit lies and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight. At this point, I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zach Sellers and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit made-up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done. This all started at the beginning of 2025 when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together. She told me she couldn't, she was crashing out because they had just broken up because he was crazy. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted joke asking could I have him now, and then asked what actually happened between them. All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform based off of lies and abuse, and whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him. I'm going to be so honest, I did not take this conversation very seriously. And obviously, now knowing what we all do, I fucking should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid. But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup. Maybe he cheated, maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes. A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. I wish that I would have asked more questions, but frankly, I didn't feel comfortable doing so. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malec just weren't close friends. I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through. We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did, because I should have never gotten involved with this, but I did not know what she was going through. I really fucking hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zach Sellers believed and then repeated on the BeeBetter podcast, which was that the relationship was toxic, they both said things and did things that they shouldn't have, and a bunch of other stories that genuinely made me believe Evan Johnson was the victim in the situation. He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man, and he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him, and he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so fucking dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide. We became closer, we would start FaceTiming, he was very suicidal and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out. All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her. I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very fucking messy situation that I should have never gotten involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home. As soon as Evan left LA, I immediately started making myself unavailable to him because I recognized that he was not the man he was telling me he was. But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation. And I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home. It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zach Sellers, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused. His messages genuinely seemed nice. He seemed like he was checking in, warning me to make sure that I was okay and have cut Evan off because he knew that we were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zach 3 months. So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me. What started off as a video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zach has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when BeeBetter flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview. Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit. To start rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zach is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not in any way, shape, or form have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life. That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zach, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single. Zach claims to know all this information to be true because he pressured Evan into getting drunk and telling him what happened on the trip. I don't know if Evan lied to him to make the trip seem more fun and exciting, or if Zachy literally just made this up for funsies. I would like to believe that that isn't the case and that he was manipulated in this situation as well, but he claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zach, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission. I've had far worse posted to me online that I didn't consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen. BeeBetter doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said. Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
Third, there's a new narrative started by BeeBetter that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now. I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I am trying to silence people, but BeeBetter made a video basically saying that I am working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have. But BeeBetter, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube. So YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because again, they don't exist. Zach has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zach, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so fucking sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
Dites-vous que dans toute cette histoire, James Charles avait perdu des milliers d'abonnés. Il a récupéré le double. Sur TikTok notamment. Il était descendu à 43 millions et quelques, il est remonté presque à 44 millions, ce qui est tout bonnement énorme. Les gens ont changé leur fusil d'épaule, les gens ont été tellement manipulables et l'être humain, franchement des fois je me dis mais comment ils font les gens pour ne pas voir que le mec essaie de manipuler. Les preuves entre guillemets qu'il vous a amené, ce sont des échanges SMS entre lui et Kayla et lui et Evan, enfin non, lui et Zach. À aucun moment il a donné des preuves concernant les échanges qu'il avait eus avec Evan. À aucun moment il a dit qu'il était au courant. Il nous fait même croire comme quoi il avait été dégoûté du comportement d'Evan. Je ne sais pas si au bout d'un moment on peut se rendre compte à quel point c'est compliqué et c'est tellement faux cul en fait. Le 7 mai 2025, par ailleurs, va y avoir une audition. Il va y avoir un jugement qui va être rendu. Evan va écoper notamment de 18 mois de prison pour son comportement et donc Kayla a gagné son procès contre Evan. Et il me semblait vraiment très important de le mentionner ici, au vu des faits qui lui sont reprochés et de ce qu'il a pu faire subir à cette jeune fille. C'était très important pour moi de le mentionner. Mais d'autres personnes vont reprendre la parole, notamment Zach. Zach qui était aussi présent au tribunal, aux côtés de Kayla. Voici ce qu'il avait à dire concernant toute cette affaire en justice, comme quoi James Charles va porter plainte et intenter des procès à toutes les personnes qui en parleront, mais notamment et plus particulièrement à Zach. Regardez.
Hey James, so I'm on here because I'm responding to your video because you're gonna sue me and I can't wait to receive those papers and take this to court because everything I have spoken about is the absolute truth. Kind of crazy that you've been blowing the hell out of Kayla's phone up and she's not responding to you because she knows what you are and she knows the character that you are and she knows it's the absolute truth. And then you want to bring up Kayla's messages, my messages, but where are your and Evan's messages off Instagram? Oh wait, it was vanish mode. But just because it was vanish mode does not mean that we can't get a hold of those messages. Because when this goes to court, we will be able to get all of your Instagram messages. And I'm scared for whenever they get over to your Instagram and see all of your Instagram messages and all of your vanish mode because you don't want no one to take screenshots because who you think you are and who you are. But I'm scared that there's going to be all these little kids that are going to have to come forward because of all your past allegations. They're going to also look at characters. They're going to look at my character from the past and they're going to look at your character from the past. And your character from the past is absolutely sick. You literally have videos of you admitting everything, which is absolutely sick. You are a sick human being. I cannot wait to take this to court. You will be canceled and you do not deserve a platform. At no means whatsoever. Also, you want to bring up, yeah, I've been going live. Absolutely, I've been going live. And you know what? Just because you said that, I will be dropping Bye Sister merch because there's no more sister. You're going to fall off of this platform. I don't care how much energy this takes and how many people have to keep doing this, but I will not give up. You're fucking with the wrong one now, buddy, because I won't give up. You think I'm nice until you try to lie and try to cover up all of the allegations that you done because you're sick and you know that you're going to be canceled. I'm not going to let that happen by no means. So also you wanted to bring up that you reached out to my modeling agency, your legal team did, because that was the right way to do it. So be it. Okay, if that was the right way to do it, then let that be. But my legal team has already been in touch with yours. We're waiting on the papers because we will be subpoenaing your phone. No matter if you have 1, 2, 3, 4 phones, whatever. Because I do know there has been kids that have reached out to me and have shown me evidence where you have said, don't take screenshots. And also, the Instagram messages have been on vanish mode. So this is not just, you know, you taking up for, you know, DV and being against Kayla. This is a lot more to it. So I cannot wait to bring this to court. So in the meantime, bye, sister. Hey guys, I'm back with part 2. I'm not sure if you guys watched the last video, but I did come out with a celebrity name. And if you guys did not see that video, you guys can go back and watch that. There's so much information, so it's going to take some time, you know, to catch on. I will be posting receipts to Snapchat and Instagram. So I'm going to start with Evan flew to California to see and stay with JC on February 28th. He stayed until March 3rd. He was supposed to come home on Sunday, but got talked into staying an extra night so they could have, you know, one last night to, you know, hang out and rest and just chill around the home. I know that just because I was in contact the whole time with Evan while he was in California, and I knew a lot of information at that time. I received a message from Evan while he was in California because he was already like acting like he was like all like, you know, just the stuff pretty much, because who he was staying the night with multiple nights and, you know, whatever went on at JC's house. So the message, I do have everything, receipts, but the message that goes along with this was the lines of, this is coming from Evan, but since she has such a huge fan base, it's really hard to get my truth out. JC told me to be quiet as long as I can, no matter what. That come from Evan, and that was while he was in California. When he was in California, there was a lot of different phone calls, and I was getting Snapchats 24/7, so I was well aware of everything that happened in California while he was with JC. Your guys' biggest question is, how is JC involved with the Kayla and Evan situation? The reason that he's involved is because JC was already warned, told, and given information from Kayla the day that she broke up with Evan, that what he had done to her and how bad he was and how things got bad. There was a comment back to her, and it was along the lines, "Can I have him now?" Those lines were just, you know, I guess she thought that was a joke, because, you know, friends joke at that time. You know, Kayla and JC have been friends. They've done, you know, videos, collab together, and so on. So from that to him lying to Kayla, JC lying to Kayla and saying that he's not in contact with Evan, he doesn't speak to Evan, and a lot more stuff to that. I do have the receipts, but I'm not going to post the receipts on here. So the flight that Evan sent me, the boarding pass of him coming back from California, was he departed from Burbank, California airport at 1:06. So that's whenever he left. I picked Evan up once he got back to Nashville from that flight, and I'm sure it was a few-hour flight. There's a lot more information that I do know because I was with Evan, you know, prior of him going to California, and I know some reasons, and he was begged to come to California, actually, and I do know that by you guys know who. There's a lot of information that I'm gonna have to, you know, go in, and then once I'm talking about, you know, these things, and then once I post the receipts, you guys will understand. When Evan went to California, there was a phone call. I was on the phone actually with Evan, and there was a phone call that JC received from Kayla and said, hey, like around the lines, not word for word, but it was around the lines of, hey, I know this is a weird question, but by any chance is Evan with you? And JC comes back to Kayla and said, no, why would he be with me? During that time, they were sitting right beside each other, literally right beside each other. So at that time, he was lying to his best friend that she trusted and lied and said that, you know, he hasn't talked to him and he doesn't know anything why, you know, Evan's in LA. Well, that's the point, is he was hiding this from Kayla because he didn't want Kayla to know. He did not want anyone to know. He didn't want any fans to know or anything because he knew the story. Kayla opened up so much different information. I don't know exactly what she opened up and said to, you know, JC, but he was well aware why they broke up. And then after they broke up, he went straight after Evan and had to, you know, DM him. As you guys know, JC does not have Snapchat, and I'm not sure exactly why he doesn't have Snapchat, so JC uses Instagram as his quote-quote Snapchat. They would, you know, Snapchat 24/7 on Instagram and FaceTime every single night. The next video is going to talk about the stuff I witnessed on the FaceTime calls and also what I witnessed, you know, as the pictures and photos that were sent on the Instagram. But I will be posting some of these receipts. But this is just, you know, somewhat of the next story just because it's so long and I'm trying to, you know, get the information out as quickly as possible to you guys because I know you guys are waiting. But this is for justice for Kayla. And it was very hard for me to come here and go, you know, public with this. It took me days to think about, should I do this? But it's the right thing to do. And I feel that I'm not backing down. I don't care who this person is. I'm not going to back down from someone when they're in the wrong. I will call them out. If I was in the wrong, call me out. But everything I am speaking by is the absolute 100% truth. But I will be back with another part. But love you guys.
Et en fait, toute cette polémique, toute cette controverse va vraiment nous amener à nous poser plusieurs questions. Comment réagir et comment gérer en temps de crise ce genre de situation pour ton image, pour ton commerce, parce que ces gens-là travaillent sur les réseaux sociaux. La vidéo d'explication de James Charles a fait plus de 30 millions de vues et énormément de likes. Le mec fait énormément de vues sur YouTube, des millions et des millions de vues. C'est quelqu'un qui arrive très facilement, et je ne sais pas par quel moyen, il arrive à jouer avec l'opinion publique. Les gens arrivent à vraiment changer leur idée, leur avis, etc. Dès qu'il ouvre la bouche, je ne comprendrai jamais pourquoi. Le mec, on vous rappelle qu'il avait avoué à plusieurs reprises quand même avoir été en contact avec des personnes mineures. Il avait même avoué que oui, c'était un comportement toxique, problématique, parce que, on le sait tous pourquoi, bien évidemment, mais c'est surtout que le mec disait que oui, il trouvait des excuses en fait en disant oui, mais il m'avait pas donné leur âge, je n'étais pas au courant de telle et telle et telle et telle chose, toujours des excuses, vous voyez, et il avait par ailleurs répondu à BeeBetter en disant que sa première chose qu'il avait appris lors de ses premiers dramas, lors de ses premiers scandales, c'est que en réalité, il aurait mieux fait de se taire et ne pas en parler parce que c'est lui qui a envenimé les situations, c'est lui qui a fait en sorte qu'on en parle encore plus et que, en gros, s'il n'avait pas parlé, tout se serait un petit peu tassé très rapidement. Le mec, jamais il a été désolé de son comportement, jamais il a été désolé de quoi que ce soit. C'est toujours lui qui se place en tant que victime, c'est toujours lui qui est vraiment le bouc émissaire. On a l'impression quand on l'écoute et je trouve ça tellement, mais tellement problématique et dégoûtant. Bon, à l'heure actuelle, c'est que du réponse via réponse sur les réseaux sociaux, c'est que du tribunal médiatique sur les réseaux sociaux, mais croyez-moi que s'il y a vraiment une avancée dans cette histoire, je vous ferai peut-être une partie 2, dites-moi par ailleurs en commentaire si ça vous intéresserait. Que pensez-vous du comportement de Kayla, d'Evan, de Zach, de James Charles dans toute cette histoire? N'hésitez pas à me dire tout ça en commentaire, à me donner votre avis le plus sincère, bien évidemment avec courtoisie et respect, comme d'habitude. N'hésitez pas à vous abonner et activer la cloche de notification pour être toujours au rendez-vous. Lâchez votre meilleur pouce bleu et me rejoindre sur les différents réseaux sociaux. Moi je vous fais plein de gros bisous, je vous dis à la prochaine, prenez soin de vous. Bye guys.